Martin, I'm not as technical as you, but I know your podcast start with a clap. So could you do a ceremonial clap?
I do. I have this tradition that I start the podcast off with where I go 3, 2, 1 with my guest and we clap and then we begin. So let's start that. So here we go. 3, 2, 1.
I've only got one hand, so I couldn't join the clap. One hand clapping.
But that's okay. I brought the energy.
Because I've seen, sometimes when somebody does one podcast, I think, right, will there be a second? And I'll, thought when I saw your first podcast, I thought, is this just a one-off or somebody just scratching an itch? But there's been hundreds?
I think we're up to about episode 311. So a few.
That's remarkable. So take us all the way back. What motivated you to do them in the first place?
What motivated? Well, in the beginning, I was in a place in my life where I was a little bit lost. I was nearly 40. Things weren't going well in my life. I've lived quite a creative life. Been involved with the theatre here, the Victoria Hall Theatre, for a long time. Trying to be an actor, director, little tiny bits of success. But overall, I had this big, overwhelming feeling of failure. And
that's very honest.
It is. And I found that's the best place for me to be honest. I feel like the truth sets us free. I feel like it's set me off on a path, on a journey, being honest and being truthful, and meeting lots of different people with similar interests to me. And so, 18 months ago, I sat down. I had this idea of trying a podcast, like many people do. Sat down with one of my closest friends, and we had a conversation about our creative lives. From there, I asked one other person to join me, and another person. And I started off with my circle of immediate friends. But then their friends started to see it. And they kind of started asking me, this looks interesting. I've got something I'd like to share. Could I get involved? And then I started reaching out to people within this town, within Harlow, that do creative things. The old manager of the Playhouse that I know quite well, someone that runs a community group, and someone that's in a band. And I started bringing those people in. And again, these circles started to get bigger and bigger and bigger on this outreach. And it was all happening organically. And to be honest with you, in the beginning, I had no idea what I was doing. Apart from meeting with someone and having a conversation around creativity, I didn't know what was happening here. But it's given me a journey and a purpose. And I'm on that path and met lots of people. And
I think I said it when you interviewed me, it was that you seem genuinely interested in the people you're interviewing. You have genuine questions. That's because is that because you are interested in the world that you've worked in for decades now?
Yeah, so I've been in theatre and film I've done that since I left school. So the last 25 years I've been doing that. I've been in theatre and I've got so much personally out of living a creative life that through all the failures that I mentioned at the beginning, it's given me so much value and so much purpose. And I'm actually a very curious person to understand how that's worked for others, or how that hasn't sometimes worked for others. And from my position, I've looked at a lot of friends and a lot of people in my outer circles and gone, you're living an amazing life. How is that so? How is that possible? And I'm in a position now where I'm sitting down with them and finding out those answers. And we're going into some very deep conversations about that.
So initially you started with circles of friends, Harlow-based people, or people with a connection to Harlow, and then you started branching out. Would that be accurate?
Yes, then I started reaching out to creatives that I was interested in. So places that, I'm interested in films. So I reached out there was a Romford Film Festival, and I've always loved films. And I reached out to the Romford Film Festival and said, could I come along and speak to some of the people there that made independent films? Well, I ended up attending there for a whole week and interviewed about 30, 40 people, did 30, 40 podcasts in a week. And I had an amazing time there. and I met so many people, and from that I've now got a part in a film as well, because I've got a background in acting and I enjoy acting, and I enjoy filmmaking, like I say. So that's led on to other things.
And as you mentioned, going out with it, I saw you on a plane going up to Edinburgh.
Yes, we did. We went on the
I was there to review for the Edinburgh Reporter, the Edinburgh Festival. But what did you get out of that?
I had the time of my life at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Having been involved with theatre all my life, I've never actually made it to Edinburgh. I've heard rumours and stories about how fun and wonderful it can be and how stressful it can be at times, but it's never fitted in with my time scale, and I've never been able to make it work because it's quite an expensive thing to go and do. But I had this idea about taking the podcast to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and so I tried crowdfunding, and I reached out to the people that have been on the podcast already initially, and friends and family, and said, look, I've got this idea. I can't afford it, but I feel like I could do something there and I could make this thing grow. And friends and family gave me, through the crowdfunding, enough money to get my flight ticket there and back, and for an Airbnb for a week. And in that time, I met so many wonderful people. It really opened up my horizons to creativity and what could be achieved for myself, and discovering what could be achieved for others. And it really was, like I said, the time of my life. I was in my element when I was there.
And how did you get in contact with people?
So initially I went on the Edinburgh Fringe website and I reached out to a few people that looked interesting, and I did a few preview Zoom calls and we recorded those as podcasts. And then I agreed to meet with those people, see their plays or their productions or their stand-up shows whilst I was there. And I also, once I was there, I went out onto the street. And in Edinburgh, in that time of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, every other person is an actor or a performer of some sort. And so I went out there with my camera in one hand and a microphone in the other and just said, could we have a conversation? What is it you're here doing?
Do you find it rewarding?
Extremely rewarding. Having a purpose in life, having something that I'm working towards that is, I feel it's bigger than myself. None of this is about me. Has been hugely rewarding, and I don't see myself stopping on this journey at any point.
So you started, you did Harlow people, you did Romford, you've been up to Edinburgh, you've got over 300 podcasts done. What's next on this journey? Well, how are you progressing what you've got here?
That's a good question, because like I say, at the beginning of this journey, I had no idea what I was doing, and I'm discovering my way as I go along. I think the thing for me that I'm discovering is every person that I have a conversation with, I discover how unique they all are and how much of an individual every person is. And I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. I don't want that to stop right now. I have got other creative ideas, how I'd like this to expand and how I'd like the audience to become bigger. But essentially for me, I want to keep doing what I'm doing. I want to keep sharing the stories and the journeys of creatives, and it's a world I'm happy to continue living in.
Harlow is do you think, I'll say Harlow is lucky to have such a creative community. Certainly from the theatre. Could it do more?
Could it do more? I feel Harlow is doing more. I think there's some amazing things going on with the Harlow Playhouse. Rory, the manager of the the artistic manager of the Playhouse, he's got a fantastic vision for the future for this town, and he is working on it right now. The engagement, having been involved with this town myself, I've seen the engagement for the artists to be quite small and low and nothing happening, and I can see that building up. I can see things are starting to happen, particularly in the younger generation. There's a lot of younger people in this town coming up now, whereas there wasn't for a period of time.
That's interesting, because I've been running your Harlow for 11 years, and you're right, the theatre seemed quite middle-aged. That's not reflecting on the quality, but is encouraging across whether it's MHP theatre or Hats or indeed here, and to encourage people. Does that encourage them in all aspects, not only acting but also directing, writing?
Yes, I think that especially with the younger people, I think everyone comes into creativity in some kind of most people come in performance-led. But for me, as an example, I had started off as an actor, but I very quickly went into directing, which moved me into writing, which moved me into producing. So going into one aspect of creativity can lead you into many other aspects. And from the guests I'm having on the podcast, I'm very much hearing the same thing from most of those people, that you may start out as an actor or a performer, a dancer, a singer, but it leads you on to other things.
Are you quite sometimes when I write things, sometimes I think, am I very easily pleased? Not if the quality is good. And I'm thinking, am I giving everybody too soft a time? But are you quite a harsh critic, or do you have very high standards?
Oh, I don't see myself as a critic, first of all. I don't think that that's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to judge. I do give reviews if asked, but that I don't feel that that's my place. I am coming from a place of curiosity and discovery rather than an opinion. I recently saw a show here at the Victoria Hall Theatre that I didn't like, but I didn't feel the need to share that with anybody. I didn't feel there was necessarily any benefit in me sharing that opinion. I do not feel like that is necessarily what I am doing here.
But that's interesting, because go back to Edinburgh a second. I'm sure it used to Scotsman. I'm sure it used to have a page on reviews, like the 1-star page.
Right. Okay.
And I wonder if I don't think they do it anymore. And I don't wonder if it's because they don't want to. Have we changed, or are we sort of as if they don't want to hurt people's feelings? Well, your football team loses 5-0, they don't report it as 1-0 because they don't want to hurt your feelings. Do you think?
No, I think it's important, and this is where me not being a reviewer and more of maybe a commentator is more my place, because I can critique it and pull it apart and see the bad elements and the good elements. I think there's bad and good in everything. I feel like that we do have too many reviews now that. Going back to Edinburgh, everyone's sticking 5 stars on everything. Well, if everyone's got 5 stars, what value does it actually have or give? And so, with what I'm doing, I'm pulling apart the creativity in a different way then it can't necessarily be broken down to stars. And in fact, I would quite like to champion getting rid of stars altogether. I don't think we can put a value on the creativity like that, almost like a monetary value or a number. I don't think a score fits creativity.
Could you see what you're doing with podcasts branching out at all? Different, I don't know. Could you see yourself doing short films or sketches or plays, or just seeing different tentacles?
Yes. Well, I've done one live show here. I've done a live podcast where I had a number of different guests that had already been on the podcast, where I brought them all together for a group discussion live with an audience. I'm also moving into documentary making as well. I'm being supported by the Megaroo Hotel in London near King's Cross. They're supporting me with the podcast, with giving me a location to film episodes of the podcast and to bring in guests. And so I'm making a documentary now about their hotel as well, because it's all around that curiosity and that interest and that discovery. And I'm talking at the moment the person that designed the hotels, because it's a very unique location.
So you're looking. Here we are in October 2024, so you've got a positive look to the future, really pleased about the energy and the creativity that's coming out of what you are doing.
Very much so. And I would say that if anyone feels a little bit lost in their life like I did, then give podcasting a go, because the podcast may not be the thing, but sitting down with someone and having a conversation on topic about the things that you enjoy and love, it seems to open up doors to new and exciting things. and it has definitely done that for me in an 18-month period.